So you can move and run at the same time? Cool. Hey everyone, welcome to another video talking about the upcoming rules to Warhammer 40K 8th edition. As always, my name is Jay, and in this video I'll talk about the movement phase and the psychic phase. By the way, there's something I forgot in my previous video, which I know people brought up. One of the things that actually was disappeared from the profile for units is initiative, which goes again, once again, that whoever assaults gets to go first. So that's pretty crazy. Like that's no more initiative. That shows that, as I said, whoever probably assaults first or assaults gets to go first. Pretty crazy stuff. So let's talk about the movement phase today. Now there are actually some interesting changes to the movement phase, which will have pretty strong consequences in Warhammer 40K 8th edition. Now, movement is going to be very similar to 7th edition, obviously. Now, and as I mentioned in my previous video, models now have units have specific movement characteristics. Not all types have the same movement, which is cool. Certain ones will be faster than others. Makes sense. And obviously during the movement phase, you can just move. Now, some models, it does say will have minimum movement characteristics. So typically, this will apply to like flyers or something. So some will have to move a minimum distance. That's, you know, pretty standard. Now, the cool thing about this is now they've changed it so you can now run in the movement phase instead of during the shooting phase. Now, if you run, you forfeit your shooting. But what this does is it does two things. First of all, it streamlines the movement process. So it actually saves time. Now, a lot of my battle reports, as you can see in my battle reports, I move and run at the same time frequently just to save time. That way you're only touching and moving a model once. You can just move and roll your dice, run, you know, add them together, one distance moved. Awesome. Saves you time. But the second, this is actually going to create some interesting scenarios for line of sight. Because what happens a lot of the cases is you shoot first in the shooting phase and then run so that your guys aren't blocking your shooting lanes, right? You got to keep them open for shooting. So what we're going to find is it's going to actually add a level of strategy to it, because if you're running in the movement phase, your guys are going to be essentially out of position sometimes. So you have to be very careful about not unintentionally blocking your own guys from being able to shoot, right? Because if the guys who run go in front of the guys who are shooting, you're in trouble. So that's very, very interesting. So that's the two parts. Now the third thing that's very... This is going to hurt. I'm an orc player and a Tyranid player, and I love my assault. And this is the third part that's really interesting about the movement phase, is that you can leave combat in the movement phase. If you are currently engaged, basically everyone kind of has hit and run that you can just walk away. Now, if you do walk away from your opponent, you forfeit the rest of your turn for that squad. They can't assault, they can't, you know, jump back and assault, they can't shoot. But what that does do is that if you're tied up in combat, you can walk away and then shoot insanely on the squad who assaulted you and knock them off the board. Now this really kind of sucks for Tyranid players and Orc players, people who want to get into Assault and stay in Assault. So what this means is you can't tie people up in combat anymore. And what's going to happen is very strategic, just walk back, walk away, and annihilate your opponent. Armies like Tau and Eldar are going to have a field day with this rule, because the great thing about Tau is once you got into close combat, you can just start picking them off the board. And now they can just step back and shoot you insanely. That's going to be a hard one to. It's going to be hard because it's almost impossible now to pin your opponent, and I am a little worried about that for the assault phase, because it's now, the thing is with 40K is it takes so long to get into assault, and once you're in assault, you're at least in assault, and now you're not anymore. That's kind of scary. So your opponent, if you're running a very shooty army, they can shoot you and shoot you and shoot you, and Overwatch shoot you, which we'll talk about that in the assault phase video later. They can keep shooting you, and then once you get into assault, if you don't kill them, well, even if you do, regardless, you're going to be open for fire next turn. So the shooting phase is going to be very, very strong in Warhammer 40K 8th edition, I feel. Very, very strong. Seeing as you could just leave You could just leave combat. That's pretty strong. So let's get, that's the big things for the shooting, for the movement phase. What do you guys think? What do you think about the new movement phase rules? Do you like them? Do you not like them? What implications do you think it'll have? I think it'll add some strategy, but also assault armies are going to be in trouble if you can leave combat. That's pretty crazy. And then so what I'm guessing will happen is that also you could leave combat and then the squads on the side can just shoot and then assault that squad, knock them off the board. So it's going to be a lot of trading squad for squad, I'm guessing, if you run assault armies. And next, we're going to talk about the psychic phase. The psychic phase of Warhammer 40K, as I mentioned in my first video, it'll get a slight tuning up. It's going to be a lot more streamlined. Apparently kind of easier to deny the witch. We'll see. So the new system, psychic phase, is reworked from the ground up. Each time you pick a psyker. Now this is the thing, you have to pick a psyker, and you can only do the psykers that, like, it's basically made so that you can't just use a few psykers in your army. If you want to bring a psychic heavy army, you'll probably use all of them. Each time you pick a psyker, you can cast as many spells as their data sheet allows, which basically is their, the equivalent to the old, master level. And there's a similar 2-dice mechanic, apparently. 2-dice mechanic for casting. You just need to beat the warp charge value. So what happens is, now there's a warp charge value, and easy to cast spells will be like a 4 or 5, and if you roll on 2 dice, better than a 4 or 5, you cast the power. There's probably going to be some special war gears to allow you to recast the power. Pretty straightforward stuff. So the harder ones to cast will be even harder. Maybe some stuff will allow you to throw in 3 dice. Enemy psykers will have the chance to deny the witch. So specifically enemy psykers. And will dictate how they can block the power each turn depending on their psychic mastery level. So I'm guessing you have to have psykers to deny the witch now. The new system will be much more scalable, apparently, so it'll be much more intuitive once you go larger games. Perils of the Warp will still exist, of course, and every faction will have its own psychic lore. So let's take Smite, for example. Smite, they used as the example. Smite is now a value of 5, so you have to roll 5 or greater on 2 dice. Pretty easy to cast. If manifests the closest visible enemy unit within 18 inches of the psyker suffers D3 mortal wounds. And also mortal. That's a key. I want to pick up on that. Mortal wounds. So I'm guessing in the rulebook there's going to be types of wounds. Mortal wounds meaning like armor saves are not allowed, but probably invulnerable saves. Maybe not. If the result of the psych test is more than 10, the target suffers D6 mortal wounds instead. Mortal wounds are a new mechanic. Oh, perfect. I'm just covering the stuff. These cannot be saved of any means and punch straight through thick armor and even vulnerable saves. Ouch. So mortal wounds are, that's what I said, the new mechanic. No saves of any kind allowed. Ouch. And that's basically the psychic phase in a nutshell. So they've gone to a 2-dice system. So you're not going to roll tons of dice at a time. It's just going to be, can you beat this number on 2 dice? I like that. It's going to be much more mainstream, much more quick. I like that. It's not everything that has to be drawn out. And if you've played like a psyker heavy army, you know the pains and how long it takes for them to do the psychic phase. So this will streamline the process a bit. I actually like that. Denying the Witch, I'm very curious about how it will happen. Can like orcs and Sisters of Battle, for example, have no access to the psychers really? Oh, there's a warphead. Shh. Can they deny the Witch at all? That's my question. Or Necrons, could they deny the Witch at all? We'll have to see. So that's it for the movement phase and the psychic phase. What do you think? That's the most important. Let's start a discussion. Let's talk about these upcoming rules because I'm excited. Warhammer 40K 8th edition is about a month away. Let's have some fun. Yes, and I'll definitely review all the rules when it comes out. So stay tuned for more videos. And as always, this is a free content video, so a huge thank you to all my Patreon subscribers. As you see, their names go by my head. Stay tuned for more videos. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting.